All right, let's get this started. Hello and welcome to the Addicts podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today is episode 80, and we're going to be interviewing Angela M. How are you today, Angela?
I'm really well, thank you.
So where are you joining us from? Where do you live?
I live in Chilliwack, British Columbia.
Okay.
So that's in Canada. It's I've just moved here actually. I used to live in a little town called Souk on Vancouver Island.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I had lived for the past 30 something years. Yeah, almost 30 years.
All right, so let's get started. I'm just fixing my little camera here thing here.
No problem.
Tell us about childhood and growing up.
Okay. So I was born in Victoria, which is the capital of BC, kind of a major city over there. I was a love child. My mom parted with my biological dad shortly before I was born because he had a family already. And so I never knew my dad growing up. But when I was about 3 years old, my mom met my stepdad, who's it's actually better than having a biological dad because he kind of chose me. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard it said that way. That's cool that he chose me.
He did. He actually says that. He said my smile sold him. And he fell in love with my mom, and he was a friend of the family. He was actually a friend of my uncle's. So he hung around a lot. And my mom was, of course, staying there with me because she was on her own with a baby. And she connected with my stepdad and they got married. And then they had my sister. So just have one sister. We lived in a really stable home.
Your real dad was too busy with a second family.
Yeah, never. And you know what? I've never met him, and now I don't care to. Like, honestly, at the juncture I'm at, even in recovery, I just don't have an interest in having him in my life. I did try. I remember in my early teens to reach out to him, and there was I was met with. I think I did contact him on the phone once. And he quickly hung up when I said who I was. So that was kind of the end of my search. And I just left it at that. Yeah. I really good home life at home. And I first tried alcohol at age 14.
Wow, that's pretty young.
Yeah. I was with some friends and with an older friend. I always hung out with older people. So a lot of my friends were legal age when I was 14. I was 15 getting into bars. My first blackout incident was when I smashed my friend's Trans Am into a utility pole at the age of 15. Apparently, I told him that I would have my license. And I don't remember a lot of this, but we ended up knocking down a hydro pole, and it actually kind of came down close to the car. It didn't hit the car, thank God, but there was a bunch of us in there. And I went to jump out of the driver's side, and because everyone was bailing out of there, and I almost stepped on a live wire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but this character I used to hang out with, his name was Time Bomb Tom.
Time Bomb
was his
Tom.
Name. Yeah. He actually grabbed me before I went to step out of the car and carried me out of the car because I would have actually stepped on a live wire. So that was my first brush with death. So that was in the start of blackout drinking. And then when I got pregnant when I was 17, I married my childhood sweetheart. We had 3 kids together. We got married when I was 19. And then and I was pregnant with my second when we got married. And then in total, we had 3 kids together.
What age did you have your first child?
17.
17?
Yeah. So it turned into, from a kid to a mom.
Real fast.
In a matter of 9 months, right? Yeah. So that was pretty hard. pretty hard on my family. My dad was devastated. I could just see in his eyes, like he was just so disappointed. And, I remember him just saying, I just want so much for you. And this is not what I want for you yet. But nonetheless, my family loved me and supported me. They were really good at not co-signing any of my bullshit, and being, having me accountable, even though I was a young mom, they were pretty good that way. And I really value that. I stayed married till I was 33. And then I got divorced. My childhood sweetheart that I married and had 3 kids with, him and I grew apart. Just, different. I was kind of excelling in my career. And by then I had gone to college. I became a healthcare worker. I was managing a group home. And he wasn't working at the time. And it was just a really, really hard time. And we both just kind of went in separate directions. So it was a mutual
Gotcha.
divorce. Yeah.
Real quick, stepping back into your childhood.
Sure. Yeah.
The first time you said you were 14?
Yes. Yeah.
Who did you do it with? What was the situation there?
That was with friends, older friends. I had a lot of older friends.
Yeah, the ones you were telling me about. So
yeah.
Did you ever think that you had an issue growing up, or you were just thinking you're partying, being a normal kid?
Yeah, I thought I was. I mean, I didn't tell my dad. My mom passed away last year, so I don't know if I told her before she died about that story about the Trans Am. But I just thought I got carried away, had too much to drink. I didn't realize it was a blackout drunk, and it was going to lead to serious problems. Yeah, I had no idea.
The first of many.
Yeah, that was the most probably significant that I'll never forget. And looking back, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. How did you do in school?
I did horribly in school, actually. I got expelled from grade 8 after my mom faithfully dropped me off every day. And then I would go into the school, collect my crew of friends, and walk out the other door. And I did that for a good month and a half before the school actually, they wrote my mom a letter and said that I hadn't been and they were expelling me. And she's like, what the hell, Angela? I've been dropping you off every day. Where are you going? And not school. So she took me out of there and she put me in a girls program. And it was a girls alternative program. And it was actually a really good program for me. So it was kind of like where they put the kids that aren't functioning so well in school. And, of course, then I'm grouped together with a lot of other girls, again, older girls. We're all smoking pot. I remember we got caught smoking pot at school, and we were just like fried out of our heads and blatantly denying that we were. Like, looking back, it's kind of stupid because it was so obvious, right? But we were just, we were just crazy kids, right? So I started smoking pot at a young age too. And then when I got divorced, I met a guy that I knew from when I was younger. I met him at a house party and we started hanging out, and he introduced me to cocaine. And lots of heavy drinking. I was 33.
Okay.
So my kids were pretty well like teenagers onward. My oldest son was graduating from high school. Everyone was, semi-independent. My kids, they were coming out of the divorce with me, but we were all kind of doing okay. But I decided to, go and party, I guess is my way of dealing with it. And every chance I got, every moment I wasn't being a mom, I was out partying. Every moment I wasn't working, I was out partying. Yeah. And I ended up having a child with him, who's now 9. And but our relationship broke down early on, like after the little guy was born. We split up because I think just drugs and alcohol got in the way of our relationship.
And that
and
was
it
you
was really hard.
using.
Both of us. Yeah, he had introduced me to cocaine, and that was something, that like right from the start, I liked it and I did a lot of it. And that continued for me for a lot of years. And then it, progressed from there. I started smoking it, and then I was addicted to that. And that went on for probably about 6 years of hard use.
So what was it like being such a young mom and having addiction issues? Like,
It was,
one thing, were you able to breastfeed when you had children or not? You weren't because you were on drugs.
yeah, okay, so that's the thing, actually. Back it up here. From when I was first married until I was divorced, I didn't do any drugs. I drank
Wow.
once in a while, not when I was breastfeeding, though, like I was a mama full time. I was able to set all that aside. And I hadn't tried cocaine by that time, not till I was 33, and my kids were like teenagers, right? So by then, that was, that wasn't an issue. With my youngest son, I definitely, it was a struggle because, and I didn't breastfeed him. He was bottle fed because we were partying every weekend. Like his dad would work all week. And then we just, Friday night, he came home with always a big bag of alcohol and a big bag of dope, you know? And yeah, that was, but our youngest son often went to his aunt and uncle's on the weekend.
When you say he used to come home with dope, what is that? What drug was that?
Cocaine.
Cocaine. Okay,
Cocaine.
because some people use
Yeah.
it for different drugs.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's what he'd come home with. And our son would often be at auntie and uncle's house for the weekend. So we would just party all weekend. Just became a thing, right? And then it tore apart our relationship, though, unfortunately, too.
So did you work during this time? How was your life as far as just operating day to day?
So I went back to work because I had already had I had a career. I was at a job that was going to be like my lifetime career. I had moved up in the company I worked for, was given a lot of responsibility. I was a manager for one of their homes with disabled people, and I was a high functioning addict at that point. I was maintaining. I went back to work. My little guy was in daycare. I worked Monday to Friday, and I became like this weekend warrior. I was every weekend we were partying. Yeah. So I lost a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it got to the point where it did start affecting my career. And one thing I forgot to mention too, I'm bipolar, and I wasn't diagnosed until I was 40. So
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
I'm also bipolar.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I now think that I was self-medicating for a lot of years. I was self-medicating. I like that high, and I was trying to get it through cocaine. I'm sure of it, and the lows, the alcohol kind of would level me out sometimes, if that makes sense. So they were both
I
an
felt
issue
the same way. But now I look back and say, did it level me out, or did I feel like, or was I just
I think I
thinking
fueled it. Yeah, that's right. That's true for me too. Like looking back, it didn't help matters at all. And it made them worse a lot of the time. So I continue to, I started fucking up at work. I started making mistakes. I started taking lots of time off, and taking Mondays and Fridays off, and because the party was just going a little bit longer. And then I decided to leave my job altogether. And I actually gave up my place. And my son's dad and I weren't getting along at all, having a real hard time co-parenting. And he was kind of in a more stable situation. I was having trouble with my bipolar. I wasn't stable at all. So I gave up my place on a manic move, I'm sure, and I drove across Canada. I drove across Canada in my car. I took 6 weeks to myself, just by myself. I asked him if I could take our son, and he said no. And I said, Kate, see you when I get back. I have to get out of here. And that, again, fight or flight, right? And actually, on most of that trip, I was clean and sober. I just needed to get away. So I drove across Canada in this little car in winter. It was like in March. And over here in Canada, the snow, like I was going through New Brunswick. I remember it was like 8 feet of snow on the sides of the road. And I trekked along in my little car. Yeah. Yeah. True story. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Were you just stopping at hotels along the way or?
Yeah, I would sleep in my car a lot. Like I was pretty well set up, right? And I would drive at night, and then I would pull into rest stops during the day, throw my sunglasses on, recline my seat, lock the doors, and have a nap. I lived like a trucker, but I saw some really cool stuff. I got to visit some of my friends that live in like Western, Eastern Canada along the way. And I'd stay in a hotel about every 4 nights or something like that, just to have a shower and just have a good bed for a sleep and then get back on the road. Yeah, I drove all the way to Prince Edward Island.
How far is that?
It's lots of kilometers, lots of miles.
Okay.
Like all the way from one end of Canada to the other, basically.
Wow.
Vancouver Island to Prince Edward Island. Yeah. So that was a pretty crazy thing to do. And then of course, coming back from my trip of 6 weeks, I was away. I had quite a mess to clean up, I had to, really prove to my son's dad that I could stably look after our son, because he kind of freaked out. I don't think he believed that I would leave. He didn't think I would take off for so long and be gone for so long. And so when I came back, there was a lot of rocky times. I didn't get to see my son a lot. My mom and dad and my older kids were kind of like, what the hell, mom? But glad to see you back, and I just started to piece my life together again. I started hanging out with kind of some people that weren't the best, probably influence on me. And that's when the crack smoking started. And I continued that for about, I'm thinking like about 4 years, actually, 4 years. Yeah. And it was almost daily right away, almost daily. So then, despite kind of getting on my feet, I got an apartment, I had my son there, but I was still, every chance I got, I was getting high. Yeah. And then, some of the time it actually started like I was starting to not use in front of my son, but after he went to bed, I was using. So I was beginning to lose control. I was doing some crazy stuff when I didn't have my son, like when he was with his dad. I'd drive for dealers because I always had my license, always had wheels. So,
you said drive for dealers?
Yeah.
Was that help make their runs?
Yep, that's right. Make their runs. Until the dealer I was driving for, when I was off shift, 2 days later, he got shot.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So that really kicked me in the head.
Did he die?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah. So things started to really spiral for me because of course I started using really hard because I was scared and upset. You know what I mean? You just I became this addict that I just used, whether I was happy, whether I was sad, whether I was scared, mad, whatever. I was just using all the time. I lost a friend of mine. She thought she was getting crack and she got fentanyl. It killed her last summer.
It's
This
so
is
much
this is
fentanyl.
like, yeah, this is like yeah, and the town where I live, there was a lot of people that were getting, ODing or dying, getting sick from fentanyl. And it's crazy because at the same time, a lot of people just do fentanyl. I don't understand it still, but yeah,
I have a friend that worries me. He used to say, "Oh, you can do fentanyl. You just have to do it safely." I was like, "There's really no
what
way
does
of
safe
doing that
mean?
safely."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think so. Like, because yeah, my friend, I guess the first hit she did killed her. They found her, a couple days later. It was really sad. A lot of us knew her in the community. It was really sad. Um, I was fired from my job um, because I made a bad judgment call around this time. So this is like, now we're hitting rock bottomville, right? um, yeah, everything starts going to shit. I had made a bad judgment call. I allowed these two shelter residents that I actually knew because of this town I lived in. I lived there for a long time. I knew all the residents. So I knew the shelter residents too, that were some of these people, they went to school with my kids. So I knew them from little, right? So anyway, these two people that were a couple that were staying at the shelter, I needed my apartment cleaned because I was moving. And they were good. Like, I see the good in everybody, right? And anyway, I let them I let them stay for the weekend because I was going away. So I said, here's my keys. And I hired them to clean my apartment, like a move out clean. Well, I guess the shelter got wind of this and they felt like it was a conflict of interest. And I then also blurted out that I was in early recovery because I had also at that time, after my friend died, I quit doing stuff. Like, I was trying to just get myself together, right? And I got clean on my own.
you just
And
went cold turkey.
yeah. And I had kind of blurted out to my boss at the shelter. I just said, look, I'm in early recovery. I'm doing my best. I'm sorry I made a bad judgment call. I needed my apartment cleaned because I was moving. And I thought that they'd be up for the task. And yeah, they were users, but hell, they cleaned my apartment, and that was awesome. And I paid them for the job, but then I got fired for that. And that really, really kind of kicked me. But I didn't start using again right away. I continued to kind of try and get my life together. I had bought a motorhome and my friend had a piece of property. I moved it onto the property and I was going to set up, a little place for myself there and eventually for my 9-year-old son, right? It's a really nice piece of property in Souk. And also I had full use of her house. So it was going to be a good situation. I met a guy and we just clicked right away. And he only drank and smoked pot. So I let him know that I had just quit smoking crack and I wanted to stay clean. And I did for about 4 months. And he had stopped drinking. I didn't know it, but when I met him, he was in like full relapse mode. And I of course I didn't know that, but what do you say? Hey, hi, nice to meet you. I'm, let's have a drink. By the way, I'm relapsing,
Yeah.
like I had no idea what was going on with him.
Yeah.
But he actually, he did really well. He had a couple rough days, but he stopped drinking. And he still smoked tons of pot. And I realized now that kind of triggered me a bit. Because it was 4 months into being clean, I was offered crack, like on a plate. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll have that. And before I knew it, I was right back to the same old shit, back.
Looking back at that, can you think of a reason that happened? Why you decided at that point, just screw it?
I think I was caught on kind of a weak moment. Didn't have the tools to know how to get myself out of that situation. So like the whole people, places, and things would have been a good thing to know then, right? Like avoiding the people that smoke the crack, that would have been good for me. You know what I mean? Like just these things that you learn in recovery, and like I say, I got clean on my own, never went to a meeting, never did anything. I just stopped. So I was a dry addict.
Yeah.
And I think also at the time my mom had just been diagnosed with cancer. My boyfriend's brother passed away. So that our relationship totally broke down. And he caught me relapsing too. So that didn't help matters. And he was really mad at me. And I asked him to move out because we were kind of shacked up together. And then I just went off. Like when my mom died, I just went off. Just, I had nothing to keep me together. So it was pretty shitty. But one really cool thing was my daughter, my 26-year-old daughter had gotten clean last year. She was IV drug user for 4 years, heroin. And she checked herself into a treatment center. So when my mom died, when I was falling apart, here comes my little guardian angel, my daughter, and she, helped the family get through this horrible time. Like my mom, literally, she was diagnosed, and the following month she died. It was that quick. None of us had any time to process anything, but here comes my daughter out of a treatment center that she did a 90-day program, plus she stayed in their second stage housing. Like she was there for quite a while. So she was like strong and with it and clear in her mind. And we were all just messed. My dad, myself, my boys, we're all just broken from losing my mom and their grandma, right? My dad's wife. And she came in and she stayed with us for a couple of weeks because the treatment center that she stayed at was in Vancouver. So she came back to the island where we lived and she stayed with us. She was there, like my mom died December 10th. So she was there a week before she died. So she was with her when she died and then stayed with us till well after Christmas. Yeah. So that was a huge strength to us and a huge support. So when I saw that, I was like, I want to be like that. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be all, messy and not able to cope with things and, just shoving drugs and alcohol down my body so I can, function, or I wasn't even functioning, I was just a mess. And I couldn't pull myself out of that relapse on my own. So I called up my daughter when she went back home to the treatment center and I said, can I come? And she said, I'm going to ask the director because she thought it may be like a conflict of interest, but because my daughter wasn't like an official staff member there at the time, it was fine because she would have no access to my case file or have to work on my case file as a client. So I checked myself into treatment February 1st. And I went to the same place where my daughter went. And I completed their 60-day program. And then
This was inpatient, you stayed there?
Yeah, inpatient program. I left my home on the island, came over to Vancouver here, and I stayed for 60 days inpatient. Yeah. So it's pretty weird when your daughter is walking around in a staff uniform, and, she's learning, all the ropes to be a staff, and I'm one of the patients, but yeah. Talk about humility, man.
To say, how did that make you feel?
Very humble.
There you go. Sometimes we absolutely need to be humbled.
Yeah. And I was also grateful because there's a lot of treatment centers, but this one had really good ratings. It had really good ratings, and it, despite, my daughter just being there, I mean, that was kind of cool. I remember one lady asking me, she's like, because I'm just generally a happy person. I have, even if I'm having the worst day, sometimes I can, just appear pretty happy. And she said, why are you so happy? Why are you smiling so much? And she said, don't you know you're in rehab? And I said, no, man, I'm just here to hang out with my daughter. Because my daughter was there, right? I said, no, I just came to hang out with my daughter. I'm not, yeah, I was totally joking, right? Like I wasn't in denial, like I knew where I was and what I was doing. But so it was funny. I was well liked there right away. And I made some really good friends, and I'm gonna have those friends for the rest of my life, I'm sure. And that really makes me get through the day sometimes. Yeah, so I'm 11 days out of treatment at this point today.
Oh, today
71
you're 11
days.
days out. So this just happened.
Yes, this
So
just happened.
what were some
Yeah.
of the things that helped you in rehab? Like, tell us about your rehab stay. How was it?
Okay, definitely getting into a routine. So I've always been a morning person. I mean, I'm a mom of 4, and I've been a mom for almost 30 years. So I'm used to getting up, getting going early in the morning. That wasn't an issue, but the routine, just getting back into a routine and structure when things happen, being accountable, like, yeah, sorry, you don't feel like going to a meeting, but you got to come, because unless you're dying or sick, you really should, you need to be there. And then I quickly understood why. Like it means a lot. I mean, a lot of people say get to meetings. They really do help. They really help. I mean, you'll get something out of that meeting. Sometimes you'll feel like the speaker is just like, speaking right to you directly, like, or you just hear something that clicks and makes sense. Step work as well really helped. The step work there, by the time I finished my 60-day program, I had gone through the 12 steps. Like you're working on things when you're in there. You're reading. If you're not going to meetings, you're reading. They give you little worksheet things with questions, and a lot of it really, it's like unpacking yourself and looking at everything that's happened to you and looking at situations. And step 4 was huge for me. The fears, failures, harms, resentments, making amends with people, stuff like that was a lot. It was a lot to look at, but it definitely helps you forgive yourself and gives you the ability to move forward. But for me, I think success is going to lie on making this a daily thing. And even now out of treatment, like I read my Just for Today NA book every day. I read some of the basic texts. I read the big book. I put out a podcast about recovery. There's great stuff on YouTube as well. And that's how I start my mornings, and then just carry on, and then, call a friend in recovery. And I'm new to town here, so I don't know my way around too much, but my priority has been finding meetings, like going to NA meetings, going to AA meetings. Yeah.
So did you have an interaction with your daughter while you were in there, or did she?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was okay. Like, I think they understood that. Like, obviously, so she'd like come running up to me, and we give each other a hug and hi, good morning, and say goodbye to each other. It was hard. So this program, the first 35 days, you don't have your phone. You check your phone in at the door. So that was hard. And it was hard because I wanted to ask my daughter how the family's doing. I want to know how my boys are. I want to know how my dad is, but she couldn't give me any of those answers, because when you're on restrictions for the first 35 days, like you don't have a phone, you're kind of in a little bubble, and it's for a reason. It's so you learn to focus on yourself and look inside yourself rather than phoning everybody and talking to everyone else. You can write letters, you can receive letters, but you don't have your phone. So that was hard for my daughter, because she couldn't tell me anything, and nothing, she would have told me, I think, if something bad happened, but she just couldn't tell me the dailies that I wanted to know how everyone's doing. And I also have a grandson too, right? That's 5. So yeah, my oldest son has a little boy. So, just missing everyone like crazy. So that was a challenge for sure. But yeah, we got to see each other every day, and she really helped me. And she's doing a real good job as she's a staff in training there now, and she's doing awesome. Yeah. I think she's definitely found her calling. She helps a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned in there that got you going was a routine. we have four
Yeah.
pillars in Addicts Anonymous. First one is self-love. The second one is discipline. And then the third one is hard work. And the last one's community. But discipline, it's so important for us addicts to get on some type of routine.
Yes.
And if we're not, just have some type of structure in our day.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason that they have that saying, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Just because if you're just sitting there doing nothing, that's when your mind wanders. But if you could have some structure and discipline and work hard at it, you can focus your energy elsewhere.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, I used to think, oh, you know, it's so, you're not, what are you gaining from going and checking into a rehab facility? Like you're just running away from your problems. That's what I used to think. But the truth is, like, when you have the opportunity to be in a rehab center for 60 days where someone else is cooking for you, somebody else is taking care of everything, all you have to do is show up. All you have to do is sit down in the chair. All you have to do is eat, you know, and then do your chore, and your chore is listed for you. You just do it. Like, it totally allows you to do all these important inside jobs that we need to recover. Right. So I really value that now that treatment centers really, they know what's going on, and they really help a lot of people. But you got to want it, right? You got to want to be helped. And I was definitely in a place of wanting to be done with all this and get some help.
Let me ask you this. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned from all this?
From the recovery experience?
Well, just from your entire, just your active addiction, your recovery, what lesson have you learned? Anything that stands out?
Deal with trauma, right? Acknowledge it. Because I did a lot of just pushing it down, you know, medicating myself. Mental health is so important. And getting the help you need, you know, is huge. And staying accountable, like, I had to change my whole life. Like, so I sold my motorhome. After I got out of treatment, I went back to the island. I sold my motorhome. I lined up the sale before I got there. So I had no choice, because a lot of people that I was talking to, they said, Ange, you know, you can't go back to that. You gotta have a new life. So I learned that I had to have a new life. I have to make some changes. And it's not like running away, I don't think. I needed a system restore. I needed to be somewhere else for a little while longer, just to stabilize and get some good, clean recovery time before I go back to Souk. You know, I mean, I love it. It's my hometown. I've been there a long time. I have a lot of connections there with some really, really great people, and my family's there. But as of right now, I had to relocate myself.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. It's sad sometimes. It's hard to be away, but I am only a little ferry ride away too, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah, that's about it.
And my last question for you,
Mm-hmm.
do you have advice for anyone listening and watching?
Give it a try. If you've tried everything else, you know, and if you put as much effort into recovery as you did trying to score, you're going to win big. You're going to win big in a good way. Like, if you can if you can think about the time you took to, you know, every day, and I was in that little hamster wheel trap too, like every day trying to get money, using drugs, trying to get more money, trying to get more drugs. You know what I mean? If you took that energy and you put it into this, even half the energy, I'm sure, you would have a wonderful life. You'd feel better and you'd be strong. And, you know, it's worth a shot. And you know, a couple little other things I just wrote down, I'll tell you quick, you know, never pick up, and it's easier to stop if you don't start.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
all I got.
That's all you got. That was great.
That's all
You did great today. You did great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really enjoyed this opportunity.
Yeah. So for anyone listening or watching, if you like what you heard and saw, give us a like and then subscribe below. Also check us out on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram. Go to our Facebook group page, and there you click on the events tab, and you'll see that we do weekly, or I apologize, nightly meetings every night at 6:30 Eastern time. The information will be there as far as the ID for Zoom and the password. And that's all I have for today. So until next time.